Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey everyone. Is everybody here that's going to be here? Steffi, I think. We're still waiting on, if you don't mind.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know where I didn't find the link to the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have posted it in the
It's in
channel.
the pinned messages also.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
then
Thank you.
I just now added it to the like the links in the channel. So
Thank you.
Cool. I guess we're ready to get started. Hope you all had a good week. Let's start with some demos.
Okay, I think we're going to go first, and I will be doing the code demo or the app demo portion.
Okay.
So let me get, let's see, that should work. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Sweet. I signed in, and this is my homepage with all my lists. Our task was to take our list and add a checkbox so that once you've added an item to the list, you can check it, and that lets the app know that you purchased it. And then the timer can start as far as for the next couple tasks, as far as figuring out when the app needs to help remind you to purchase the item. So the first step was to get the date in there that it was purchased. I'm going to add a new item just so that we can see the difference in the dates. I added those items earlier. Let's see. I don't know. And now I can see this is an empty box. It hasn't been checked yet. If we look at the database, you can see, go to my user, you can go to my list, my items for that list. And let's see, this is one I added earlier. You can say date last purchase was earlier this morning. Date last purchase also earlier this morning. This one does not have a date last purchase because I haven't clicked it. The other functionality was that our app will now tell you how many times you've purchased the item on the database side. I'm not sure what we need that for yet, but these have been checked once, so they have one. This has not been checked, so it has 0. And we can go back to our app and watch what happens in the database when we click the box. Now our hook has the date right now and 1 box for the total purchases. Oh yeah, and if you want to check it out, you can edit the timestamp to go back a day. So the app will automatically assume that you won't buy the item the same day. You might wait a day before you buy it again. So if we update it to a day past, you can see that the checkbox gets blank, and you can then check it again. So you could then say you bought it again. I think that's it. Any questions?
Not for me. It looks good.
Yep,
Cool.
same
I'll
here.
pass off to Anna.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, I'm going to share the code. Can everyone see that okay? Yes, awesome. Okay, so I'll start in the Firebase file. So we added this update item function, which is going to take the list path that the item belongs to, so what list it's from, the ID, and the date last purchased, as well as its parameters. We have a reference to which list it's coming from here, which we're passing to the item reference. So we have the list and the item ID. Katie, can you stop for just for like 5 minutes? Thanks. And then this function is calling the update doc function from Firebase. We're passing it the item reference. And these are the updates that we're making. So the date last purchased, which Stephanie was just showing you guys in Firebase, and then we're incrementing total purchases by 1, and this is another Firebase method as well. So that's the function. This is being called inside of handle checked inside of our list item component. And this handle checked function is being called on change of the input itself. So we have the input with its corresponding label. Handle checked will call update item, which makes the update to, or the call to update the item in Firebase. And then we have subtract dates, which is taking the current date, which is a variable that is equal to an instance of the timestamp class from Firebase. This was previously a JavaScript date object, and Danielle gave us some really good advice to change that to a timestamp so that both the current date and the date last purchased are going to be the same, that they're both timestamps. So we're not having to do any kind of conversions, which I had created a separate function for previously, but I was able to get rid of that because now they're both timestamps. So I'll go to the dates utility file in a second, or folder in a second, but subtract dates is going to take, or checked is going to be equal to whatever is the return value of subtract dates, which is true or false. So this is what's going to keep track of or control the input in terms of if it's checked or not. And this will change based on what these are evaluating to. So in our dates.js file, we have the subtract dates function, which is going to take today's date and the date last purchased, which are again timestamps from Firebase. And it's checking to see if the date last purchased is true, because it's either null or it is a timestamp. And if it's not, if it's null, we just want to return false. But if it is true, then we want to subtract today's date and date last purchased, which the timestamp is an object that has first a key of seconds and then a key of nanoseconds. So this will evaluate to seconds. We multiply that by 1,000 to get milliseconds. And then we're just checking to see if that's less than 1 day. And again, this is going to be the value of checked. So it's either true or false. And then that way, when you come and visit the page, it'll uncheck itself more than a day has gone by. I think that's it. Yeah, any questions there?
No, I don't think so. It looks really good. Really nice naming of everything. I can't think of more clear names for everything. That was very helpful. And that's doing something like that helps you not have to write a lot of comments or get confused about things later. So this is a good example of good naming, I think.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so does our other team want to go?
Yes. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Hannah. I will be presenting the app and the code So I'll start with the app first. 1 second. All right, and everyone can see the browser window okay? Okay, great, thanks. All right, so for issue 8, which Ella and I completed last week, we had to create a button in the list view that would guide the user to add an item to an empty shopping list. The goal of this issue was to consider what we would want to see as a user and make intentional user experience decisions that would guide users in confidently adding that first item. So we start off here in the home page, and I'll click on an empty shopping list to be taken to the list page for this list. And as you can see here, there is a button that appears because the list has no shopping items, and it instructs the user to add their first item. So when the user clicks on this, then they can add their first item. Yeah, okay. So then, they can go through the process here of adding an item to the form that we had created in a previous issue. And once they select their parameters for the time frame and the item name and add that item, then they receive an alert that their item has been successfully added. So that concludes our app demo, and we can move on to the code walkthrough. I'll just close out of this. All right, so as I explained in the app demo, for empty shopping lists, Allo and I added a button in the list view, and we specifically, for the code for that is here on line 64, which contains a message for the user to add that first item to a list that has no items in it. If, however, the list has items already, then the list view will include our form for the user to search through the items, as shown here on line 48. And to have the form and button display separately, we used conditional rendering. And if there are no shopping items in the chosen list, or in other words, if there are no documents in that collection in our Firestore database, then the button will be displayed. As shown, and this is shown in the logic here on line 32. And what is happening there is if there's at least one object in the array that is represented by the state variable named data in Firebase, then the form for the user to search through grocery items is displayed. Otherwise, it's the button that is displayed. There were 2 bugs for this issue, and I'd like to describe them in the code that was written to resolve them. Thanks to feedback from Hannah, Allo and I implemented a loader element here on line 30 to address bug number 1. So the element displays a loading message before showing either a shopping list with at least one item or an empty shopping list showing our button. The loading status is a state variable that's held in Firebase JS file. Prior to implementing the loader element, data from the previously selected shopping list was briefly flashing on the screen before the app switched to the currently selected list's items. So this loader element was meant to allow time for the correct data to be displayed while the list data was being fetched from the back end to the front end. So this was an intentional user experience enhancement. Hannah assisted me with this by identifying that the use effect hook and the use shopping list data function in Firebase JS needed to run to set our data state variable equal to that new shopping list data. And the old list data was flashing on the screen while that use effect hook was finished running to set state. Hannah should be commended for helping me this past week, also by providing a key function for this issue that involved incorporating the state variable for the loading element within the use shopping list data function in Firebase. And second, setting the loading state variable from the list component in the front end. For bug number 2, whenever the user would revisit the same shopping list page twice in a row, the page would show a perpetual loading message. So the state of the loading function I described earlier wouldn't change unless the path for the shopping list changed. So to address that, we created a async and await function to clear the path and then reset it in the single list file as shown here on line 7. So what is happening here is that the user selects a shopping list to view from the home page. This handle click function is called, which sets the list path to an empty string before setting it to the path of the list selected by the user. So this causes the state of the loading element to change to false. And if the list has at least one item, the list with the items will be rendered with the form. If the list is empty, then the button that we created prompting the user to add an item will be rendered instead. So that concludes our code walkthrough.
Great. It sounds like there was some nice teamwork on that issue this week. One question I have, Emilio, is about the second bug you described with the loading, basically your loading state not clearing. So if the loading component was loading based on, you have this like low loading state. So was it not clearing when that state changed?
Yeah, so the reason it wasn't it was the list path that was not clearing and the loading state itself that wasn't changing. So in other words, the only time that the loading state was changing was when the list path itself actually changed.
Okay.
So for some reason, whenever the list path was the same, if for example I visited the Trader Joe's list once, went back home and then tried to visit Trader Joe's again right afterward, then the loading state wouldn't change and it would just show that perpetual loading message because it wasn't working through the conditional elements that we had for the conditional rendering in list view. So yeah, again, just to boil it down, it was the loading state that wasn't changing because the list path wasn't changing. So
Okay. Well, looks great.
All right, let's jump in to the retro. Share my screen here. It'll let me. Yeah, okay. So I'll link this in our chat as well, but it'll be a similar deal to the last time. So we've got the 4 columns, appreciations, what went well, what could be improved, and then we'll chat together as a team about action items. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to add whatever cards you'd like to the board, and then we're going to go through it together. And then if you could do what Steffi did here and put like a dash in your name afterwards, just so we know who wrote it. And then I guess the other question that I have is, were you able to resolve your issue, Hannah, or are you still having problems reaching the board?
I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, it still says page not found. I'm not really sure why.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering if, all right, like Steffi, Amelia, were you able to see the board?
I navigated to the board through the through GitHub and like the projects tab. I didn't use that link. I could try using the link and see if it works, but I was able to just get to it through that.
So I think part of the issue is that when I go to the projects tab, there's nothing there, which is why I couldn't view like the other
Mhm.
board of like moving things from completed or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
it
Okay.
works for
huh. Okay.
I wonder if something isn't like shared with me, maybe.
68. Yeah, because I was looking at permissions earlier. Ah, of course, I need my code. Give me a sec here. Security. It's so annoying until it's not. Yeah, because I was looking at permissions and it looks like everyone, like mentors have admin and then everyone else is right. One other thought that I have is, as silly as this might sound, have you tried another browser? I wonder if it might be like an extension blocking.
Let me try.
Does it make any difference that she's listed as an outside collaborator on that list you just showed us and no one else is?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at what that
That's
means
part of
right
it.
now.
Yeah, what does that
Did
mean?
I?
I'm glad I shared that.
Says that it means that she's not a member, or that an outside collaborator is someone who's not a member of the organization, but has access to one or more of the organization's repositories.
Oh, okay. So we probably need to find like Stacy or someone that has access to add someone to the Collab Lab org to get you access is my guess.
Okay.
Good thing. I can put that on my to-do list. Yeah, because we want you to have access. For today, what I'll do is I'll just have you write down your answers and then we can just call on you because that
Okay,
way
sure.
you can participate. Cool.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so 5 minutes starting now. And if we get to the point where like not many people are adding things, we might cut it short and just get started. So go ahead and add your comments. I'm just going to go off camera while we do this.
Or Danielle, can you share your screen so I can see the board? Because I can't see it at all.
Oh yeah, totally. Happy to do
Or
that.
even just, or like take a screenshot.
So you can see the options. Yeah, I could just keep my screen up.
Okay, thank you.
We are week 5. Yeah, just so you can see the options. Cool. All right, I think we're probably ready. I've seen a slowdown of activity. If you do still need to add some stuff, feel free to stop me. All right, yeah, let's start with appreciations here. Steffi, are you back?
Oh yeah, I'm back.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was finishing one more.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I just pushed enter. Thank you. All of you, everybody on this team, mentors and devs, you guys are all, everyone's just working hard. It's awesome. I feel really like, I don't know, everyone's doing what they can. It's awesome.
Aloe, are you able to speak, or should I just read yours for you? Happy to do whatever's easier.
I can talk. I just
Cool.
really appreciate Hannah for always having solutions and going through when we're doing code reviews and PRs. I just feel like she's really meticulous and that's really awesome.
Awesome. Looks like you're next, Steffi.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Jeremiah, for spending over an hour trying to help me figure out that my bug fix. I think we had like 59 messages in a thread back and forth. I really appreciated that.
Next one is me. I just wanted to thank Hannah for when I was code reviewing, I just found that when we added an item that the form wasn't getting reset after you hit OK on the alert. I just created an issue and said, if someone has time to pick this up, feel free. Otherwise, we'll do this at the end. And Hannah picked it up and got it in. So thank you for that. Looks like Aloe is next.
I've just really appreciated that. I feel like everyone on this team, like we're all working towards the same goal and everyone is just so kind and helpful, and that's always really appreciated.
Right. And then Jeremiah.
Just a shout out to Steffi for putting in extra work after one of the issues that she was on was submitted, because the code wasn't the way that she thought it needed to be. So doing some more research and then figuring out how to fix an issue that she saw.
Right. And then Aloe, looks like you're next.
Yeah, I've been on a road trip with a lot of hiccups and I'm just really appreciative of Emilio and Steffi for kind of putting in some extra work since I am not able to be present in that way right now.
Right. And then it looks like we have Nick.
Yeah, this one's for you, Danielle. Just thanks for keeping us mentors on track with our tasks, making sure we're organized with covering everything.
Right. And then last appreciation from Emilio.
Yep. So just great job to everyone for creating PRs for the issues early on this week. And kudos to Hannah for being a coding master. Just because I personally hit a roadblock on the bugs that I was describing, and she came in to save the day. And then I didn't have time to type this one, but also kudos to Stephanie for creating very thorough descriptions of her code. The one for the bug fix that she did in particular was very easy for me to follow. So yeah, she made my job easier.
Just finishing typing up this one before I continue here. Give me a sec. Repo. Words confuse me. All right, so let's move on to what went well. Looks like we have Steffi first here.
I always in my personal life, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm an over communicator, and I have to tell everybody, like send all these messages and have to tell everybody. And I feel like I'm not that, and not to say that you guys are over communicators, but I just feel like we can, I just feel like I can be heard. I don't know what's going on. Everyone's sharing what's going on. I'm not like lost when I like log in the next day and I'm like, oh, all this stuff happened. I know what happened. It's really comfortable and nice. So thank you all for just saying what's going on. Like, it really makes me feel good.
Awesome. And I think I might have jumped the gun a little there. Thank you for that though, Steffi. Hannah, did you have any appreciations you wanted to share? I forgot you can't see the board.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have a few. First one is just like an overall, just that everyone, to speak on what Stephanie's saying, like communicates really well, which I appreciate because I feel like in general people don't really communicate day to day in like every aspect. So that's something that I really appreciate, especially when it comes to showing recognition and appreciation for each other, even outside of like just doing this, just like when we're actually communicating with each other, which is really nice. And then I have Danielle for your time and feedback regarding Steffi and I's issue. Steffi for taking the lead on solving that promises bug. Emilio for taking the lead on presenting while Alo was away and for taking the time to work with me to kind of work through some of those extra bugs. And then also for Alo staying committed and showing up while they're traveling and maybe having a bit of a hard time. I saw your LinkedIn post. So, you know, just sending you some support and like, so glad that you're here. And like, it's really hard to show up when you have a lot going on and when you're traveling and not at home. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Awesome. And stop me if I forget you for what went well too. Hopefully I don't. But yeah, back to what went well. I guess the second one is me. I just wanted to comment everyone that you're doing a really great job for accepting feedback gracefully. And if you have a reason to not follow that feedback, you communicate it in a kind and direct way where it sounds more like a conversation rather than, you know, I'm not going to take your feedback because it sucks. And I really appreciate that a lot. That's a very important skill to have because I've worked with people that have not gracefully accepted feedback. I think we all have. So, all right, next person is Nick here. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, just this team I think continues to have really good teamwork. You know, Hannah this week helping the other team out with getting through some of their bugs, but it's really been everyone in this group has been really great with teamwork from the start. So,
Right, Jeremiah.
Just a shout out to everyone for doing a great job getting everything done quickly, and then like figuring out issues that come up in the tickets and then getting those solved quickly as well. Everything seems to be going super smooth, which is nice to see.
Right, looks like we have Aloe next.
Mine is kind of an echo of what Jeremiah said. Just we got done real quick, which is really cool. Which meant that we had more time to kind of like work on bugs or other issues.
Cool. Thank you for that. Next two are me. They're both kind of similar. First one is I've just noticed that you all are getting a lot more comfortable with demoing and explaining your code, especially in front of an audience. That's really going to suit you well when you go into interviews. So great job, everyone, on that. I think a big part is just practice. And then similar deal with Firebase, I've noticed from week 1 to now, people are a lot more comfortable jumping in there and changing settings just to kind of see what happens. And it's important to be able to be comfortable with your tools so you know what's going on. So great job, everyone. Steffi, looks like you are next.
I thought it was really neat when I had a problem and then I was, reached out for help, and then Jeremiah showed me how to do it. And then I woke up and the next day there was another bug fix and a PR, and like it was just really, yeah, like that happened. We were able to like manage it, and everybody kind of was able to figure out what the steps were to do. And so then we could just do like solve it, and that was cool.
Great. And then we have Emilio.
Yeah, so Hannah and Stephanie did well completing the 2 pull requests for the 2 separate bugs pretty promptly.
Awesome. Aloe, looks like you're next.
We just have really great teamwork. It's going great.
And
I
we've got
know we expected Emilio to he'd like pick up a lot of slack, and not that Aloe wasn't there, but as far as like the front being available in the moment, Emilio was there, and I just wanted to say good job. Like you were really showed up.
Thanks. Thank you. And just for the last what went well, Allo scheduled our pair programming session weeks in advance when they knew they would be away, which really helped for the workflow this week, and helped with getting the PR reviews done promptly.
awesome. Hannah, did you have any what wells?
Yeah, just also echoing the teamwork in our teams. I think it's really, really great. And also, I mean, I guess it's kind of an appreciation, but also shout out to Stephanie. You did really well presenting today. I know last time you said you were nervous, even though you didn't even seem nervous. But it was great because you were presenting and you were saying things that even I wouldn't have even thought to go over. So I thought that was really awesome and good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Let's move on to what could be improved, and then we can chat about some action items. Steffi, looks like you are next.
I couldn't think of anything as far as like project or code or but I had I was able to share like some moments with Aloe because we're both rock climbers, and then when I went to office hours with Jeremiah, he showed me like a cool project from someone that he appreciated, and that felt really cool to be a little bit closer to the team in ways like just who each other is. And I think I just put that in there to be like, I would love to just know you guys a little better. I really respect you all so far and just appreciate you. So those kinds of things are something I think are valuable.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, these meetings are pretty short and quick. Yeah, maybe we can chat about that with action items, what people think. Emilio, for the other, what could be improved?
Yeah, so this just pertains to me only. I don't have any suggestions for the group as a whole, but just for me personally, reaching out for help sooner. That'll be the lesson for me this week, just because I think I spent more time than I probably should have trying to work through the bug fix that I eventually received help from Hannah for. But I think like just for purposes of efficiency, and we got our PRs done early, so like it wasn't a big deal this week. But for purposes of like personal efficiency, I think just reaching out sooner once I know that I've exhausted everything I could possibly try and have spent too much time doing so. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I've learned that lesson myself many times. So yeah, it's great that you're able to recognize that and iterate on it.
Thanks.
Awesome. So action items, yeah, I just wrote this here mostly for me, so I don't forget. I'll do it right after we get off this call. I'll ping someone to see if someone who has admin access to the Collab Lab project to add Hannah as a full member so she can see everything. And then the other action item, yeah, I don't know. What do you all think about what Steffi mentioned? Like if we want to do like ad hoc hangouts or something like that?
Yeah,
No
I'm into
pressure.
that. Yeah, definitely.
Pressure.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I know like one thing that we do at work, I pulled up my Slack here, but yeah, if you just start a huddle, like anyone can join, and then I believe you can even go on video and stuff too. If we want to maybe start using that functionality in Slack, just kind of like a, hey, I'm hanging out here if anyone wants to talk, no pressure or anything type of deal.
That's cool.
Could start doing that. Yeah, if anyone else has ideas, definitely open to it.
We had like a fun, it was like a Christmas party or whatever for my boot camp, and it was like a cocktail party. And not that we would do that every week or anything, but it might be cool to like schedule something like a little cocktail party before the end. And um, I don't know. I don't know if that's something you guys would want to do. I really liked seeing what you guys are interested in. Cute.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it'd be cool to do like a little hangout thing and then like even just share like a couple of things about each other because I feel like we don't really know each other that well. And it's like it's nice when you know your teammates a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think those are great points. Okay. Yeah, we could see about like just doing like a scheduled thing before our last meeting. I think that might be a good call. All right. And if anyone else wants to like organize or take the initiative on that, you definitely can feel free as well. But if I don't see anyone doing it, I'll do it. Cool. Did you have any other action items or anything, Hannah? Just because you don't have access to the board.
I don't think so. I guess one thing I was thinking about, which is like a very small thing, but just maybe deciding on a way to write our commits. I know it doesn't, I guess, really matter, but just to maybe more mimic like if we were working at a company, like all agreeing on a way to do it. Cause I feel like every week I do it kind of differently. Well, I'll just kind of ask my partner, like, how do you do it? I'll just like do it that way. So maybe something like that, but it's not a big deal.
Cool. Yeah, that might be something good to take to a offline Slack thread so we can start that in our channel. That's a good idea.
So if my opinion counts for anything here, piggybacking off of that, I really liked the clarifying instruction on the bug fix by you, Danielle, where you said like for Hannah's fix, have one person review it, have at least one person review it, and then just merge it. Just because that in itself, I think saves a lot of time. Because if one person can get to it sooner than and then it's merged, the issue's done. So
Yeah, I think for that specific thing, yeah, that's a little more reflective of like what I've seen in the real world. It's like at least one person review, doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, for the sake of like our tickets, we probably should continue with the same rules just because they want to make sure that you get access to everyone, practice giving feedback and then getting the mentor feedback as well. But yeah, I generally agree. It's a little more efficient if one person's doing it. Well, all right. Yeah, we can continue with that stuff. We've got about 10 minutes left. Jeremiah, if you wanted to go into issues for this week.
Okay. So we should be on issues 10 and 11. Um, yes, okay. So for issue 10, we have as a user, I want to be alerted when I'm entering an empty item or an item that's already on my list. So users shouldn't be able to add empty items to the list or the same item twice. If they try to do this, we need to show an error message that explains the problem. So that way lists aren't cluttered with, repeated items and, uh, things with spaces or not spaces and things that are duplicates. So the AC for this one's going to be that an error message is shown if the user tries to submit an empty item, so like an empty string or like spaces, things like that, without text. Show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that is identical to an existing one. So if the list has apples and the user tries to add apples, they get an error message, and then show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that matches an existing name with punctuation and casing normalized. So normalization meaning, you're making it kind of following the same standard. So if the list has apples, then apples with different casing or with spaces wouldn't be able to be added because you already have apples on there. And then the user's original input is saved to the database. So that means that whatever they put in that box is the thing that's saved to the database, even if it has spaces or weird capitalization or something like that. What they type in is what gets saved. So there are a few different ways to approach this task, and if you're not sure how to start, then you can ask us, the mentors. Um, Pretty straightforward, I think. This one's going to be Emilio and Steffi. Do you have any questions?
I only have one right off the bat. If for the third one, if the user, if we show them the error message, we're not allowed to let them, or are we allowed to be like, are you sure? Yes or no? So if they wanted to add like capital apples and lowercase apples, can we allow that? Or like
Um,
instead of immediately saying no?
so this is saying, no, you wouldn't be able to add that.
Okay.
So, uh, I don't think we've added it yet, but like the workflow, I guess, for it or the flow for the user would be like if they enter something that's not the way they want, they would have to like delete it from their list and then add it with the correct casing or uh whatever. If they did have apples lowercase and they wanted it to be capitalized, or if they spell a brand name with the wrong casing or something. Um,
So yeah, okay. So just no options. You just have to, it just can't. Yeah, it just can't. That makes sense.
All right, so Jeremiah, based on that, based on the last checkbox, the user's original input is saved in the database. So like
Yeah.
they can, for example, like if there's no I don't know, if there's no like banana in the database, then they can put in all caps banana and it's stored in the database in all caps. That's what that last checkbox is telling us to do, correct?
correct. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so yeah, we might have all right,
Yeah, I think the way that we're doing it now is saving it all lowercase, which
right.
is like handling this third one where you're normalizing it. So yeah, there's going to be some thinking about, I think you guys talked about it in that issue where you solved it of like, do we do two lowercase for both the thing the user's submitting and the thing in the database, or do we just do it on one and then force everything to be lowercase, and that kind of thing? So this is saying, yeah, if there's a user who likes to have their caps lock on and everything they submit is all caps, uh, that's their thing, and we're gonna let them do that.
Okay.
Um,
Sounds
Or,
good.
you know, if they're doing like an Apple product, the second letter is usually the one that's capitalized. So um letting them do it in that way.
Okay. Yeah, we ended up going with the function in the back end to make to force the input to be lowercase. So we'll have to change that then.
Yeah, and
But
I know
yeah,
that you all talked about doing what is it, like first letter casing or something to handle the way it looks on the front end, which is a good idea too. But yeah, this is the AC for this, and yeah, I don't think there's an issue with like either way, but the way that the tickets are written, this is the way that they want it done.
sounds good.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? And then issue 11 has a bit more writing to it. So and then this is gonna kind of be affected by some of the, I think, choices that we made for the way we handle dates. So as an item, I want my estimated next purchase date to be computed at the time of my purchase, and it should be recorded to the database so the app can learn how often I buy different items. So this is where like the smart and the smart shopping list comes up. Um, so in order to advise users about when to purchase things, the app needs to be able to calculate that guess and store it in a future date. So there's this package that we're going to use. Calculate estimate is a function from the Collab Lab / shopping list utils. It's a module that will help us figure out how many days in the future a purchase should happen. So in order to use calculate estimate, we need to know how many days have passed since the time the item was last purchased. And the AC for this one is when the user purchases an item, the item's date next purchased property is calculated using that calculate estimate function, and it's saved to the Firestore database. And date next purchased should be saved as a date, not as a number. And then a get days between dates function is exported from utils / dates.js and imported into API / Firebase.js. So that's the like those are the files that you'll be working on for that, and this is a function that you'll create. So the function should take two JavaScript dates and return the number of days that have passed between them. So that way we can use it to figure out this part earlier about like how many days are we expecting to be between when the user buys it now and when they're going to want to buy it again in the future. Um, so there's some going back and forth between the way Firestore handles dates and the way JavaScript handles dates. So Firestore returns dates as special objects called timestamps. I know that we've worked with that a few times already. So you'll need to convert the timestamp to a JavaScript date in order to work with it and complete this feature. And the timestamp object has a toDate method that will convert it into a JavaScript date. And you can look at the docs for that. And then calculating the time between dates can be tricky. So it is notoriously tricky. There are like a ton of date time libraries that people use that are popular to handle it, just that way they don't have to use the built-in JavaScript ones. And then JavaScript's actually working on another way to handle dates called, I think it's called a temporal. So right now we have to use dates, but there are other things coming for that. So all dates have a get time method that returns the date as a milliseconds number as a hint. And then this is like I guess the tricky part to it. So the Collab Lab / shopping list utils module should already be installed because we used it on an earlier ticket. Um, and it also has that calculate estimate function in it. So calculate estimate, if you're curious about how it works, you can actually go look at it on NPM and on GitHub. But it takes three arguments. So it takes the previous estimate, which is a number, and then it takes the days since last purchase, which is also a number, and then it takes the number of times that an item has been purchased, and then it returns an estimate, which is also a number that indicates the number of days until the user is likely to need to buy their item again. So if you do look at it, it just does some math with these three things to try to come up with like an estimate. And then this one is Hannah and Aloe. What are your questions, or do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, cool. And then if you have any questions, definitely just post them in Slack and we'll answer them. Cool. I think I'll pass it back to Danielle.
Yeah, I guess final two announcements for the week. I put it in Slack, but I'll be doing office hours. I'll send out a doodle probably later today just to see when works best for most folks. And Nick is going to be your mentor doing code reviews, so feel free to ping him in Slack when things are ready to be reviewed. Aside from that, I think I can let you all go for your week. Enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Bye,
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.